This story begins with a crowd of people attending a public execution. The guy is burned alive, but it's not the flames that consume him. It's the pain, anger, and hatred. Sometime before these events, Klein is in audience with the queen. She offers him to defeat the queen of the Black Dragons, and as a reward, she promises to become his wife. Klein was motivated by such a generous offer, and after a while, the guy managed to find the Dragon Queen. The battle wasn't that difficult. Knight Klein was up to the task, and the Dragon Queen was destroyed. For 100 years, no one could defeat the Dragon Queen, and only Klein managed to do it. A feast was organized in honor of this event. The queen personally approached the knight to raise a glass to his exploits. Before the campaign, Klein promised that he would drink with the queen if he won. The queen remembers her promise, and once the guy has a drink with her, his dreams will come true. Klein drinks a glass of wine to the bottom, and in that very second he feels uncomfortable. Instead of what was promised, the queen poisoned Klein. Guards surround the knight, and he is suspected of inciting the soldiers and attempting to raise a rebellion. Loyal associates tried to stop this madness, but their attempts were quickly foiled. Klein's guilt has been decided. Anyone who defends him will be killed. The knight couldn't even move to resist in any way. His loyal companions could do nothing as they were outnumbered. The commander of the guards was as pleased as anyone with this turn of events. That's where it all started. Klein was engulfed in flames. He laughed in response to accusations of conspiracy and rebellion. The crowd of people, as usual, swallowed the phony accusation as valid. Burning alive, Klein promised to destroy the whole damn world. Eventually, the fire did its job. After a while, only snow and ashes remained in the square. At this point, an unidentified woman approached the cooled fire. She summoned magic power. Klein's suffering is about to end. The age of magic is coming. She will once again give the rights of choice to the fallen knight. Klein began to rise from the ashes. His first words were, "I will destroy this world." The woman was glad to hear that. Klein had risen from the dead, but his body was disfigured. 3 years have passed since then. The knight sits on the roof, bored. Isn't there going to be anything interesting here? Suddenly, the streets became noisy. Finally, it's fun time. Klein rushes to the epicenter of events. The palace guards are asking citizens to surrender their weapons. There's a little girl sitting not far from the weapons collection point. One of the knights asked the girl to give up an unregistered sword. The girl cried and asked not to take the gift from her dead mother. The guard drew his sword and threatened the child. "This is an order from His Majesty." The girl refused to give up her sword, and the guard swung at the child. The guard struck a blow, but the sword flew out of his hands. He looked up to see who had done it. Klein was sitting on the roof, taunting the palace guards in every way possible. The people saw their savior. This time his name was no longer Klein. The crowd called him Shiro. The head guard ordered the debauchee to be caught. The guards rushed to the attack. In the same instant, Shiro scattered them all. Only the leader of the palace guards remained. Shiro grabbed the guards. He wouldn't let them take away their weapons in search of magical fragments. The guard pulled out the dagger hidden in the cuffs. But it doesn't help him, and he gets a 2-point shot. Shiro advises not to get cocky and to leave while you can. The guards have abandoned their belongings and are fleeing. The little girl thanks Shiro for his help. But he doesn't need thanks. He's no longer a good guy like he used to be, just an honest thief. Shiro addressed the crowd and asked them to take whatever the guards left behind. People cheered and chanted his name. At this time, the chief officer of the palace guards was in a rage. Moonlight illuminates the tower. The masked knight languishes in boredom. Someone addresses the noble thief appearing out of nowhere. She asks with a chuckle if he misses her. The knight indifferently replies that he doesn't care about respect. What matters is fun. The girl watches him thoughtfully, perplexed as to why the strongest knight would come so close to the commoners. The dagger stabs into the roof, making a distinctive sound. Shiro feels the priestess taunting him. The dark-haired woman denies mocking the former king of knights. He was executed for treason and lost everything. Looking up at the huge moon, the knight curses his fate. The woman comforts him, because as long as he's alive, there's a chance to change things. The rescued knight wonders about his rescuer's motives. The enigmatic Messias answers evasively, enjoying the other's struggles. The knight resigns himself to his fate by accepting the help of the Messiah, who promises to be there for him no matter what happens. The action moves to Castle Lind, the residence of Count Ein. The subordinate reported the failure to the lord, making excuses for the strength of the enemy. The angry lord reprimanded him for his uselessness. A humiliated subordinate begs for forgiveness. The woman next to the lord grinned gloatingly. The overlord rebuked James for his constant failures. James begs for one last chance, promising to catch Shiro. The angry overlord refused, eventually becoming frustrated. The lord summoned 2 warriors to his side. The warriors approached and bowed their heads, ready to carry out the order. Capture Shiro at any cost. The demoted captain will now be an ordinary private soldier. He agrees, because life is more valuable than pay. A bird's-eye view of the city. From the heights, Shiro observes the crowds and the oppression of the common people. Trouble is just around the corner. The shards of the blade will reunite. The priestess read a line from the prophecy. The thief hummed, hiding his true motives. the dark-haired girl approving of Shiro's cynicism. The city is once again in turmoil. The knight and the girl notice suspicious activity. He resents the guard's insistence. The priestess has noticed a change in their behavior. Knight rushes into battle without recognizing the exact reasons. The red-haired knight lands a powerful blow. The residents of the city watch the destruction with horror. The soldiers demand the townspeople to hand over their valuables. The old man is terrified and begs for mercy and calls for Shiro's help. The guard steps on the poor old man's face. A former officer contemplates his impending fate. The townspeople greet the approaching knight. When the man saw him, he was hit in the jaw. The guard flew back a decent distance. Shiro was ready to face the city guards. He didn't expect them to return so soon, though. Shiro accepted the challenge of the new guards, promising to be a nightmare. The enraged knight attacks with his strongest move. Shiro stops the blow with just his index finger. The enraged opponent is shaken by the failure. At that moment, hands come out from under the ground and grab Shiro's legs. The red-haired man gives the order to capture the knight. The soldiers strive to carry out the order. Shiro, without panicking, raises his index finger, which begins to glow with a bright pink glow. The guard doesn't realize what's even going on. A powerful blow rains down on the enemies, and Shiro only touched the ground with his finger. Not only was he able to copy the attacker's technique, but he was also able to amplify it. The knight in armor flies backwards with tremendous force, almost breaking through the building. Shiro walked over to his opponent and lifted him up by his hair. The boy demanded answers to what was happening, pressing the guard's head into the wall, but he refuses to speak, for he is loyal to his master. Shiro decided to remove his mask. He announced his demonic nature, scaring the captive. The knight let his scars be seen and demanded an honest answer. Otherwise, Shiro promises to destroy his entire family and won't even spare his children. The captive in horror agreed to everything. He gave the name of his employer. The troublemaker told him that his master was interested in the magical artifact Shiro was carrying. The customer wants a magical dagger that emits pink flames. That's all the red-haired guard knows. Shiro let him go with a final warning. The frightened captive hurried away. His men hurriedly left the streets of the city. The knight was left alone, pondering the fact that peace would not long reign in this city. There were whispers of a mysterious avenger outside the walls of Castle Lind. Gossip about the righteous thief stirred up the citizens of the city, and his daring methods shocked them. There were even tales of the Count's public humiliation. A mysterious cloaked stranger lurked among the crowd. He pulled back his hood, exposing his red hair. With a sly smile, she whispered a promise to Shiro's brother. Her green eyes burned with determination. A knight in a red cloak walks through the square, drawing attention to himself. Shiro begins to realize that the Count is his new target. Someone calls out the knight by name. Shiro turns to look. The girl rushes joyfully toward him. An unexpected jolt rolls the knight to the ground. The stranger embraces the knight, marveling at his tenderness. The enraged knight demands an explanation. The girl introduces herself as Carol. She states her desire to help. The knight coldly rejects her help. Carol wonders if he's driving her away. The distraught girl reminds him of her long journey and her cuteness. The knight roughly pushes the annoying girl away. He mutters irritably about the strange encounter. Again the girl attacks, screaming righteous thievery. Those around her are shocked by her statement. Knight asks to step away from the busy streets and speak to her alone. The girl is outraged and demands to be taken on her next assignment. Shiro angrily interjects what the girl wants. The girl suggests using a stinking potion. The knight is amazed at the girl's madness and reminds her of the seriousness of the punishment for the mission ahead. The girl talks about the terrible effects of the potion. Shiro was interested in the proposal. He agrees and takes the girl with him. The knight promises to teach her how to have fun. The girl was surprised at the unexpected turn. Carol shrieked with joy, and now the two of them were discussing the unexpected plan for the raid. Meanwhile at the manor, the guards tell of the mishap. The alarming news threw the Count into despair. The man was tearing his hair in rage. His fear of Lord Han was obvious. The angry lord blamed his subordinates for the failure. The guards listened in horror to the angry tirade, but there was more bad news. A defiant girl had burst into the house, wreaking havoc. The lord was enraged by the uninvited guest's appearance. A girl insidiously attacked the guards with an unknown substance. The knights fell victim to the unusual attack. One of the knights reported it to the Count. The bearded man growled, outraged at someone else's insolence. A red cloak flashed in the air, looming over the enemy. Upon landing, the warrior in armor asked who was in front of him. Looking at the Count, Shiro greeted him roughly. The bearded man gripped his blade. The Count had not expected to encounter the thief again. Shiro rushed toward the Count. The knight grabbed his enemy by the throat. The bearded man roared in pain. A knight in a red cloak pins the Count against the wall. The bearded man smiles slyly and suggests we just talk. The Count waves to his soldiers to help him overpower the knight. The guards in armor begin to move closer. Shiro looks disdainfully at the guards and beckons Carol to help. The girl entered the hall, swinging the doors open with her foot. The appearance of the young lady excited everyone. Carol throws a vial of an unknown substance at the guards. Something disgusting splattered sideways. The guards recoiled in horror. The smell was unbearable. One of the knights couldn't stand it. He vomited nausea. The knight unleashed his might upon his opponent. The girl knight kicked the defeated enemy with her foot. The interrogation began. Shiro began to ask about the so-called Mako tool. The count was trying to figure out how serious the boy's motives were. At that moment, the blade stabbed into the count's arm. The man screamed in pain as he realized that Shiro was no joke. So either the man tells everything he knows or Shiro will break his bones. The count screams in pain and agrees to tell everything he knows. Knight senses an approaching threat. The unknown man threw something towards the knight. Shiro doesn't manage to repel the attack. The projectile flies between his fingers. A needle jabs at the count's body. The fat man screamed, squirming in pain. Shiro screwed up. He couldn't prevent the attack. The knight in the red cloak tries to catch up with his attacker. Annoyed, he realizes that the target has successfully escaped. Carol looked over at the count. The dead man lay on the floor and the girl gloated. The blue-haired knight looked coldly at the defeated man. The count's face contorted in a grimace of horror. The needle's venom killed him quickly enough, though it looked like it hurt like hell. Confident in his poison, John Doe reported success. The irritated man ordered faster action. One shard is already in Shiro's possession. The old man grinned evilly, sensing the challenge. It was worth inviting this guy to his house. You need to kill Shiro and collect the fragments that will unleash Mako's divine power. You will become the world's strongest god, and I will put an end to it. The count is dead. The looting has begun. The raiders greedily grabbed the treasure, fighting over the loot with cries of mine. There were 2 men watching them from the roof. Is Shiro satisfied with the given sight? Does he feel better? The fall of the villain lifted his spirits. Carol admires her brother's strength. Trinity celebrates victory on the rooftop. Knight promises new entertainment. The woman warns of the consequences. A loyal knight does not fear his enemies. He considers them nothing. The girl is excited for the upcoming battle. The priestess only grins slightly, anticipating another reprisal. Newspaper reporters deliver an emergency bulletin. The townspeople praise Shiro. Carol informs Shiro of the praise. Shiro is surprised by the unexpected fame. The knight reads an invitation from Kane. Lord Kane invites them to dinner. The knight suspected a trap, but agreed. They will handle any upcoming event. Anticipating the fun, Knight promises even more entertainment. Meanwhile, the heavy door swung open with a clatter. You can see the light from the torch below. A man looks at the girl in the flask. He calls her Aisha. Aisha, immersed in a dream she has been in for over 4 years. The 2 men discuss Lord Kane's invitation and question whether Shiro will come to the call. Kane knew pride would make him show up, even knowing it was a trap. The confident warrior waited for a new story. A warning of the enemy's strength sounded in the darkness. The white-haired giant dismissively responded to this warning. Kane summoned the power of the beast. The power of the cursed lion. Fierce flames broke free. A beast appeared in chains, shrouded in magic. The witness was horrified when he saw the might of the lion. The villain created an experimental weapon out of shards. The ferocious fire lion roared, displaying its might. The unknown figure looked on in horror at the spirit power. By collecting all the shards, he would be able to destroy the world. The 2 conspirators were anticipating the fulfillment of a dream, but the joy was marred by someone else's absence. The memory of her pierced his heart. The villain's face contorted into a sinister grin. Someone is no longer with them. Shiro arrived at the castle. People look at him and whisper. The crowd parts before the guest. Lord Kane greets Shiro. Kane remembers all the merits of the glorious knight. Shiro is honored by the Lord's attention. The knight assured that everyone's contribution to the building of the castle would be remembered. The leader invited everyone to build a better future together. The guests gladly accepted the invitation to the party. The servants announced that the treats were ready. Mountains of roast pork waited in the hall. The host suggested that they not be shy and eat as much as they wanted. The knight refused the treat, much to the bewilderment of his companion. The girl happily offered to eat the treat herself. The formidable warrior stared suspiciously at the knight. Shiro accused the warriors of deception. The warriors were stunned by the knight's words. Kane inquired as to the true purpose of the visit. The needle pierced the air, aiming to strike the seated man. Carol fought off the attack by defending her brother. A white-haired, masked young man was watching. A gray-haired warrior taunts his opponent and orders his warriors to kill the insolent man. The knights attack, but Shiro is unfazed. He dismissively calls them tools. A powerful punch shakes the hall. Kane blocks a jab from Shiro. Knight smirks, anticipating the fight. Shiro unleashes dark energy. An enraged Kane asks his counselor for help. The magician summons the slumbering beast. A monstrous roar echoed through the palace. The knight scrutinizes the summoned creature. Kane tells Shiro to give up, since he's not going to make it. The old man with a blazing gaze ordered the lion to attack the guest. The fire lion broke free with a furious roar, and the flames engulfed everything around it. Shiro grinned. You're too soft. The monster was blazing with destructive pink energy. The knight dodged the attack and continued to taunt the beast. The monster roared and directed a stream of energy at the guy. Shiro flew away, destroying everything in his path. The crowd cheers. Kane is invincible. Winner taunts the defeated Shiro. Suddenly, a mighty figure rises from the dust, scattering chunks of rocks piled against his body. The old man looks on in horror at what is happening. He marvels at the power of the awakened being. The sinister look in his eyes foreshadowed something terrible. Kane orders the destruction of the enemy. The beast eagerly begins to growl even harder. Shiro grinned contemptuously. He abruptly adopted a fighting stance when he saw the lion approaching. Shiro rushes to meet the lion and delivers a crushing blow. The lion flies behind his master's back. A mocking voice predicts defeat for the knight. Overcoming the pain, the warrior gritted his teeth and summoned the power of the ghostly chains. A vortex of dark energy engulfed everything around it. The knight, surrounded by sinister spirits, is trapped. He is predicted to die a quick death from exhaustion. But Shiro only grinned without losing his composure. Suddenly, there was a powerful fiery explosion. The dark energy receded. The knight could move again. Kane was shocked at the young knight's given abilities. Shiro shortened the distance between him and his opponent as quickly as possible. Knight lands a glancing blow to Kane's jaw. A powerful explosion throws the enemy back. Kane doesn't understand how the knight got such powers. Shiro is also a summoned spirit to some extent. I guess it's time to call it a night. Shiro rushes back on the attack. Kane orders the lion to protect his master at all costs. The pink lion blocked the path to Kane. The lion set himself up to distract the knight. When the spirit of the lion fell, Shiro didn't look toward Kane, but he was no longer there. He heard footsteps behind him. Turning around, Shiro saw Kane running away with all his legs. At this moment, the lion rose to its paws again. A magic vortex burst out from its mouth. The knight was able to disrupt the flow of energy with a single fist. The attack spread through the hall. The knight decided to deal with his opponent. Kane had already run out of the castle and headed for the streets. At this time, Shiro landed a crushing blow. From such a blow, the lion is unlikely to wake up quickly. At this time, those around him recognize the fleeing knight as Lord Kane and are surprised by his panic. In desperation, Kane orders his men to apprehend the enemy. Kane attacks with chains with ghostly skulls. The trapped people are terrified, trying to free themselves. The townspeople scream in agony. Shiro had already caught up with his opponent. He tried to help the poor villagers trapped by Kane. The knight looked at the townspeople. They were begging for help, terrified to realize they were dying. Grinning maliciously, the enemy challenged Shiro's senses. But he knew what Kane was trying to do. He was just trying to buy time. But Shiro didn't give in to the provocation, because he had come back from hell, and such tricks wouldn't get him. Disregarding the lives of civilians, the warrior attacks. Kane is stunned by the insolence of the enemy. Blades crossed in a fierce battle. Kane's sword broke from the powerful blow. The knight attacks furiously, knocking the opponent back. Kane broke through the wall with himself. Fury contorted the old warrior's face. Shiro announced the end of the game. Suddenly, the same mysterious needle-wielding assassin appeared above his head. The guy turned around to look at the pathetic attempts to pierce his body with poisonous needles. With a wave of his hand, Shiro redirected his opponent's attack. A villainous laugh rang out. Dark magic enveloped the knight in purple chains. Terrified, he tried to free himself from his shackles. Lord Kane, meanwhile, was trying to escape again. The heavy doors of Castle Kane's dungeon swung open. Kane returned to his beloved. He looked at Aisha, captive in her green cocoon. Tormented by doubts, he asked himself what he should do. Suddenly, a magic circle formed beneath the lord. Violet magic flared up, enveloping him. He decided to end it all. Purple energy destroys Aisha's flask. The knight promises to fulfill her dream. Shrapnel stabbed into Lord Kane's back. A dark force envelops the knight. He embraces the girl with pink hair. Shiro tries to free himself from the purple chains. With a sudden movement, he tore the magical barrier. Shiro tries to figure out how the unknown was able to dissolve, leaving only chains in its place. Suddenly, the whole earth began to shake violently. Panic gripped the city. Buildings collapsed like houses of cards. The girl covered her head with her hands in horror, one of the buildings serving on her. Shiro batted away the looming threat with his hand. The knight watched the destruction. He knew it was Kane's doing. Kane's squad of guards hurried into the dungeon, sensing some strange energy. They remembered Kane's mysterious power. The warriors rushed towards Lord Kane, worried that Shiro might hurt the lord. At the entrance, the same hooded man was waiting for them. The warriors discussed Shiro's power and the mysterious energy emanating from the basement. The hooded man slipped up, saying that Lord Kane had decided to retreat, recognizing Shiro's power, and before he left, he decided to share the wealth. The warriors rejoiced at Lord Kane's generosity and cheered, praising their leader. The knights entered a closed room to meet with Kane. A sudden gust of wind filled the hallway. The entire group was defeated by strange tentacles. Ominous energy enveloped the knights, and they screamed in pain. A horrible monster appeared out of the darkness. It was as if the warriors' life forces had been drained from their bodies. The knights flew backwards from the powerful blow. The monster smashed its way through the dungeon ceiling. The monster has taken to the city streets. The monster let out a terrifying howl. The mysterious counselor was watching what was happening. He flew out after the monster. With contempt, he called people fools. The monster attacked the villagers, and the people scattered in terror. The creature grabbed its victims, sucking the life force out of them. Shiro approached the monster. He shredded the tentacles with a powerful blow. The stunned villagers fell to the ground. The monstrous creature horrified Messias. She explained that it is a defective magical warrior. He absorbs power to compensate for his deficiencies. Shiro thought it was Kane's pet at first. The hooded girl objected. It was Kane himself. It resonated with the shard of a blade of violet flame. Has Kane fallen so low? The monster attacks the young man. A knight with white hair prepares for battle. The monster abruptly changes his plans. The monster simply turns around and walks off in the other direction. Shiro and his priestess are mildly perplexed. In a flash of rage, Shiro tries to stop the monster. The knight unleashed a crushing blow on the monster. The attack catches up with the monster, cutting off a certain number of its tentacles. Shiro catches up. He swings in for another strike. A stream of energy burst out from the monster's mouth. The knight groaned in pain and was thrown backwards. Shiro doesn't give up. He needs to defeat Kane at all costs. The monster rushed back towards the castle. Knight is trying to catch up with Kane. Meanwhile, at the castle, the giant pink lion is still lying unconscious. Carol notices a flash of pink energy. The monster knocks the girl off the lion's body. She took a direct hit and was thrown back into the castle wall. Kane runs up to the lion carcass. With his tentacles, he slams into the lion's body. He needs 2 more lives to free himself. The beast grabbed the lion's heart. Kane furiously demands that his body be released. The kidnapper mockingly rejects this demand. The captive desperately clings to his freedom. The monster growls, demanding the body to obey. Kane tries to resist, but his strength is running out. Shiro caught up with the monster. The guy attacks again with his sword, cutting off the monster's limbs. A knight with an icy stare wishes death upon his enemy. The monster recognizes the warrior's strength, but scoffs. Game time is up, the monster announces. Dark energy clutches the lion's heart. The monster bursts free, enveloped in purple energy. Shiro stared stunned at what was happening. A tremendous explosion shakes the ground. Debris flew in all directions, and a horrifying laughter could be heard from the dust clouds. Something embittered laughed gloatingly, enjoying the chaos. He felt the intoxicating power dominating the world again, the fire monster unleashing its fury. The fire monster towered over the knight. The knight is horrified, trying to figure out what's going on. The flames engulfed everything around it, the monster announcing its return. Shiro realized that it wasn't Kane anymore. The fire golem angrily demanded the name of the imposter. The fire monster foreshadowed the imminent doom of the enemy. The fire monster summoned a demonic technique. A powerful explosion shook the ground. The 9-headed monster emerged from the flames. The 9-headed dragon awakened. The monster opened its huge maw, preparing to attack. Its scales glistened, radiating a menacing energy. Shiro jumped up high to assess the situation from up high. The multi-headed dragon surrounded him, snapping its teeth. With a furious shout, the warrior swung his sword charged with magic. A mighty blow crushed the air, heading for the enemy. The dragons roared, preparing to attack. A powerful explosion was formed when the attack wave and the dragon heads collided. From the shockwave, Shiro was also thrown back. No sooner had the guy landed than a fire golem approached him. He attacked the guy with tremendous force. Shiro was sealed into the ground with tremendous speed. The impression was that the attack had little effect on the guy. The fire monster approaches the guy again. Shiro summoned a protective barrier, reflecting the furious onslaught. The fire golem advanced, dealing another blow to the enemy. The knight's shield cracked, and the guy was thrown aside. Shiro slammed into the wall. The knight clenched his teeth angrily. Suddenly, the priestess appeared. She was concerned and assessed the knight's condition. Shiro sighs heavily. He didn't fully appreciate the power of the golem, a fire monster mocking the wretched humans. The sorceress defied brute force. She's going to try to carry out her plan. The golem turned his attention to the priestess. He noticed an ominous magical symbol. Kane entangled in red strings like a puppet, imprisoned by his own mind. The price for power was to become a puppet, forgotten by all. He growled, not wanting that fate. Kane tries to remember why he has come all this way. A memory flashed in the warrior's eyes, a girl dreaming of a strong husband and marriage. He vows to protect her from all dangers. The devoted knight protects the girl from brigands. After a time, he became a hero, standing at the top of the empire next to his beloved. In a flash of rage, he remembers the betrayal. He remembers the promise he once made. The goal is the top of the empire at any cost. Kane vowed to crush everyone in his path. The shackles holding him back have loosened. The image of Kane appeared in the golem's eyes. Kane is trying to fight back and regain control of his body. A loyal knight must reclaim his former name. The fire monster fights back. The knight orders the monster to leave his body. Shiro and the priestess observe the internal confrontation. The knight banishes the creature from his body, but the monster won't give up. The fire golem is ready to unleash its wrath on anyone who gets in its way. The knight, engulfed in flames, desperately resists. The dark-haired girl wants to help stop the fight. The priestess suggested that the knight use the power of the artifact. He's willing to risk everything to win. Trying to fumble for the hilt of the dagger, Shiro feels nothing. The guy realizes the artifact is gone. The blade was lost among the rubble of buildings. Meanwhile, Kane tries to exorcise the fire monster. It was obvious that the Lord was having trouble dealing with him. A fire monster oppressing Lord Kane. "The game is over," came an ominous voice. It was time to get down to the real business. Engulfed in fire, the knight was horrified to realize that the end was near. The explosion shook the city walls. The monster is once again in full control of the body. He has managed to suppress the inner rebellion. Shiro frantically searched for the missing man. A menacing voice rumbled out another threat. An ancient evil is awakening from a 1,000-year slumber. Shiro urgently needs to do something about it. Guy uses the protective barrier again, blocking the fire golem's attack. The fire giant scoffs at the weakness of man. Shiro gets to his feet. The guy repeats again that he is no longer human. The guy was human 3 years ago until he was betrayed. The fire monster raised an eyebrow in surprise. The giant had not expected such a response. Shiro has called himself a wandering soul since his awakening. The warrior's glittering eyes blazed with fierce energy. A shadowy curtain descended on the enemy. The fire monster didn't realize what was happening. The knight attacks the fire giant. Golem turns sharply toward the knight to block the blow. Knight lands a crushing blow. The enemy is stunned by the variety of techniques. The fire golem throws the annoying guy off. Shiro realizes that a prolonged fight is undesirable and needs to end things as quickly as possible. The knight runs in a rage through the ruined streets in search of the artifact. Shiro sees his dagger glinting in the distance. The artifact is a long distance away from the guy. The knight was pleased to notice the shard. Golem looks around for the annoying knight. The giant spotted something in the distance. The monster saw the fragment and the guy who went after it. This is exactly what the monster needs to unleash its incredible power. The fire monster will not allow the last fragment to be stolen. The knight is already a step away from the blade. Suddenly, the guy noticed the fire golem also began to rapidly approach the artifact. A sharp flash of light illuminated the guy's face. The monster pushed the guy away. The knight is thrown back by the blast. He falls down, gritting his teeth in rage. The last shard that the villain exalted. The fire monster can finally show its true power. There was a huge explosion, and the golem disappeared. The situation is escalating. The villain has found true power and craves power over the world. A hero challenges a powerful enemy. The scene shifts to the dungeon of Lin Castle. The priestess speaks of destiny. Everything in this world has a beginning and an end. The priestess uses the spell near the destroyed flask. Kane senses someone else's interference. With a furious shout, he let out a purple flame. The mighty knight did not back down. The demon triumphed, taunting the humans as suddenly his hand changed color. Shiro fiercely resisted, unwilling to give up. The knight tries again and again to overpower the fire golem. The monster threatens a quick death once fully synchronized with the new artifact. At this point, Kane regained consciousness and began to resist the monster. The fire monster began beating himself up. The knight recognized the monster as Kane. Kane attacked with renewed vigor, the loyal knight vowing revenge for the attempted body snatching. The weakened monster opened a gap in the defense. Shiro saw his chance to win. At that moment, he remembered the conversation. The knight listens to the princess in silence. She asks if he is ready for service. The princess's piercing gaze is full of guile. Knight stated emphatically that he was willing to do anything for his ideals. He stepped forward confidently, never wavering from his goal. Shiro refuses to break his oath and once again throws himself into battle against the monster, but not for the princess. The hardest blow is bearing down on the enemy. The city shakes with the force of the impact. Buildings collapse, raising clouds of dust. The fire monster blocked the attack, but unfortunately for him, he dropped the fragment. Shiro was able to knock the fragment out before it fully synchronized with the monster. The enraged monster was unable to protect the artifact. The monster's gaze saw danger approaching. Another blow to the monster's face. A tormented Kane demands to expel the demon from his body. Shiro coughs up blood, his strength leaving him. Betrayed, he fights with his last strength. The thought of Natsu flashed through his mind. The knight is determined and swears to himself, "I won't lose this time." Shiro summoned the power of the violet flame. A purple ray surged into the sky. A purple glow fills the guy. The fire monster realizes his business is bad. Shiro is now filled with energy from the relic. The mysterious counselor is still watching. His plan failed. The priestess noticed the pillar of purple energy as well. She was glad that Shiro was able to awaken the power of the artifact. The knight is filled with monstrous power. The transformation is almost complete. Synchronization was successful. Shiro has been transformed beyond recognition. "It's over," came an icy voice. The face with the burned cheek was contorted with grim determination. During this time, Kane continues to fight for control of his body. The Lord groaned in pain. It was becoming increasingly difficult to contain the monster's blazing rage, and the warrior realized that the heart was its vulnerable spot. "I'm counting on you," came a desperate voice. "I won't let you down." A gleaming blade sliced through the air. "You pathetic creature, you're in my way," the monster growled. The monster wields 6 shards while the guy only has 1. Does he really hope to win this fight? Shiro accepts the challenge. The knight recalls past battles in which he has won victories. Shiro rushed into the attack. A demonic strike descends on the enemy, violet energy splitting space. The fire demon concentrates energy. The fire tornado is directed towards the knight. There was a collision of blows. Huge explosions rang out in the streets of the city. Is that really all a fire monster can do? A knight with a purple blade attacks a fire monster. The monster warns that the guy will be consumed by magic and won't be able to control it. Shiro is unwilling to listen to warnings. He remembers his poor childhood. Small, he was weak and defenseless. But now things are different. The knight rushes forward, unwilling to give up. A blob of dark energy bursts out from his hand. Its speed increases dramatically, stunning the enemy. A fiery aura envelops the golem, protecting it. The knight let out his might with hatred. A powerful jab staggers his opponent. The fire demon can feel the knight's power with every part of his body. The monster flew away, and Shiro was left standing still in a final attacking pose. The queen knights the young man. He accepts her blessing with bowed head. Once powerful, he destroys the world, but not in the way he imagined. The sky was covered with storm clouds. A scarlet rose bloomed in the pouring rain. The fire monster collapsed onto the wet paving stones, the flames around it fluttering and pulsing. Magical energy concentrated in a purple crystal. Lord Cain was returning to consciousness. The defeated opponent lay in the rain. The knight walked over and kicked the lying man. "Don't pretend." Shiro looked at Cain. "Look what you've done," Shiro said bitterly. The ruined city was smoking under a gray sky. "I never lost to you," growled the defeated man. "This battle only started because of you," the knight parried. Exhausted, he could barely stand up. Shiro was outraged at the deception from Lord Cain. Through the pain, he remembered the false promises. The knight was torn between death and revenge. Gloating laughter heralds more trouble. In the rain, the priestess brings him comfort. In the stranger's arms, the knight saw his beloved. Words of gratitude came from Lord Cain. The dark-haired girl hinted at the beginning of a new life. The knight decided to stay with the girl till the end. He hugged Aisha gently. Saddened, he whispered her name. In the rain and the ruins, his death was announced. Priestess and Shiro discuss a defeated enemy, a victim of fate. They blame him for what happened. He was a victim of his own greed, which power gave him. Shiro walked over and picked up a shard of the artifact. Fortunately, he was stopped in time. This purple flame blade is a powerful magical weapon capable of destroying a city with a single swing. Suddenly, a strange noise was heard, and in the same second, blood-red energy rushed forward. Shiro dodged, stunned by the force of the attack. A mysterious stranger in a cloak with burning eyes appeared. The dark-haired girl tried to pick up the blade, but the hooded man knocked the girl to the ground and grabbed the artifact first. The mysterious magician has gotten his hands on the coveted. The enraged knight is trying to reclaim his. A magical strike lands on the opponent, but he blocked it with his magical chains. A dark figure taunts the weakened knight. Mage pushes Shiro away from him. The warrior's face blazed with rage. He was determined. Shiro shouted and unleashed a strong magical strike on the enemy. A powerful blow that contained the power of a demon king shook the air. The pink chains burst under the pressure of the blade. The enemy watched in horror. The mage barely had time to dodge the attack. With a chuckle, he recalled the former greatness of his enemy. The King of Knight's strength waned, and he stared doomedly at his opponent. The exhausted knight realized his powerlessness. The dark mage, eager for the game to continue, hurriedly ended the fight. "So this is where it starts?" The woman spoke Lavis's name angrily. An ominous voice sounded from beneath the hood. He remembered the betrayal, the foreshadowing of retribution. Lavis is doomed to defeat at the hands of a man he despises. Gloating, the mage foresees the knight's demise. The dark mage goes through the portal and disappears, leaving the two of them on a broken street. God's impending awakening is a threat to humans. Shiro slams his fist on the ground. There was nothing he could do. He's too weak. He needs time to recover.